Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. We are wrapping up with just 2 more days of Genesis chapter 38. It has been a crazy story. If you are just joining us, you're going to have to go back and read the beginning of this chapter. Today, we're already on verse 20, and we'll be reading 20 through 23. If you were with us yesterday, or if not, let me catch you up. Basically, we have a woman who dressed as a prostitute, seduced her father in law to sleep with her, and now she's pregnant. Yep, that's what happened. So let's pick up the story in verse 20. It says this: Later, Judah asked his friend Hira, the Adullamite, to take the young goat to the woman and to pick up the things he had given her as his guarantee. But Hira couldn't find her. And so he asked the men who lived there, "Where can I find the shrine prostitute who was sitting beside the road at the entrance to Enaim?" "We've never had a shrine prostitute here," they replied. And so Hira returned to Judah and told him, "I couldn't find her anywhere, and the men of the village claim they've never had a shrine prostitute here." "Then let her keep the things I gave her," Judah said. "I sent the young goat as we agreed, but you couldn't find her. We'd be the laughing stock of the village if we went back again to look for her." This is so interesting. And so to catch you up a little bit from yesterday, when Tamar was seducing her father-in-law and they were negotiating payment for the sex that they were about to have. He goes, "What do you want? I'll give you a goat." And she goes, "How am I going to ensure that you will pay me the goat that you're telling me you're going to pay?" Because he wasn't intending, he didn't go there to sleep with a prostitute. He was traveling on his way to shear some sheep. Shear, shear some sheep. I think I said shear some sheep. Okay, anyway, he was traveling to work. Okay. And so he didn't have sex on his mind, but apparently seeing her, it changed his mind. And so now he's found him in himself penniless. He has nothing with him. And so he says, "I'll give you a goat." Apparently that was normal back then. And she wisely, because she knew what she was doing, she said, "How will I know you'll pay me a goat?" And so clearly desperate and driven with lust, he goes, "Well, what do you want?" And she says, "Give me your signet ring. Give me your," what was it? It was like, "Give me your rod, your staff, and," let's read it back, "your identification seal and its cord, your walking stick that you were carrying." So basically, let me give the things that identify you. They didn't have driver's license back then, right? There wasn't a passport you'd pop out. What was it? The signet ring was how they signed legal documents. It would signified who they were, and it was specific, customized to them. And so her having those items, it would have been very obvious whose they were. And so we'll see tomorrow how that unfolds. But what happens is when he goes back with the goat, thinking, "I'm going to pay the goat, get my personal effects back," she's gone, right? We know from the previous verses that as soon as she found out she was pregnant, she was like, "Bye." And she went back and changed back into her widow's clothes. She was like a ninja, right? And so now what I think is interesting about this is that Judah, he went to great lengths to follow through on his word. He felt he cared more about fulfilling his obligation. Think about this. He cared more about fulfilling his obligation to this prostitute by paying her what he owed her than he felt obligated to fulfill what he owed his daughter-in-law that he promised, which was his son Sheila. It's interesting, isn't it, how we justify different things, how we can walk with integrity and honesty and truth in certain arenas of our life, and yet we can walk the exact opposite traits of deception and deceit and manipulation in another arena of our life. Have you ever thought about that? Are there areas of you that you are truthful and act with integrity? And then there are areas of you that you don't. Well, yeah, you're called human, so am I. But it's interesting when we identify those things, what do you do with them? When you're recognizing, wait a minute, there's a hypocrisy to me, that I act one way in one circumstance and a different in another. It's also interesting that in this passage, Judah was very concerned about what others thought of him. I love the terminology that it says. I believe it was verse 23. The final one that I read, it says, when he realizes the woman's gone, what's he going to do? He says, "Then let her keep the things I gave her," which is wild again, because these are very specific things to him. But why does he say that? He says, "I sent the young goat as we agreed, but you couldn't find her." Hey, I tried, right? But here we go. "We'd be the laughing stock of the village if we went back again to look for her." We see this theme throughout Judah's life. We saw elements of it earlier that he cares a lot about appearances. And isn't that true that oftentimes we will, I don't want to say fall because that seems so like not our fault, but we'll whatever. We fall into sin or we choose sin, right? We pursue sin because we want others to view us a certain way. Oftentimes, our sin is to hide other sins. Oftentimes, our sin are things that we try to justify to prove to people that it's okay. It's crazy how much of our time and energy is motivated by keeping up appearances, and how, really, if not kept in check, people pleasing can actually be the exact contrary enemy of God pleasing. And so, as we roll out our time today, and as it comes to a conclusion, I want you to think about that. When you think of your day to day decisions, your day to day choices, the things that consume your mind, are you more consumed with thinking and pursuing and acting on pleasing man, or thinking and pursuing and acting on pleasing God? Sometimes those things can be very close in alignment, but oftentimes they're not. Oftentimes, to choose one, you reject the other, and to choose the other, you reject this. And so what has more of your loyalty? Man or God? Take some time to think about that today, to ponder that today, to talk to God about that today. Maybe be so bold as to say, Father, would you reveal to me areas of my life where I have succumbed to pleasing man over you? And in those moments of revelation, would you be humbled and ask for forgiveness and ask the Holy Spirit to help you do better? Hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope to see you again tomorrow as we wrap up this chapter with another daily dose for spiritual growth.